Hello and welcome. Good evening from the Matterhorn circuit here in Switzerland for round 5, race 3 of the core CSS championship. It all comes down to this then. After 14 exciting races, it comes down to the last, the 15th and final race of the core CSS championship. Join alongside me for today's fantastic prospect. 8 cars on the grid, a truly fantastic prospect in line. It is Tom Hughes. Thank you for joining us today, Tom.
Good evening, Luke. Set to be a great race as usual. Should be fun to see the teams battle it out for that championship position to pick the car.
Well, yesterday's action was one truly spectacular action. So to quickly then round up what's happened so far this weekend, we saw Johnny B 1990 take victory in the first race on Friday by about 1.5 minutes in that one over the Made for Racing team even. So Concrete Climax Racing was leading by about 1.5 minutes heading into that one. However, what happened was, during yesterday's race, is Concrete Climax Racing driver Memto 89 had a bad run indeed, and it all allowed Pikey Mikey in the Made for Racing car to keep plugging away the gap, Tom. It brought the gap down to only 5 seconds between the Made for Racing team and the Concrete Climax Racing team for today's race, as the Made for Racing team try and grab their 4th successive weekend victory in this championship, which they seem to have well and truly dominated right from the word go.
Yes, it should be interesting to see. The teams are so close and it's all to play for in this final round, especially with M4R and CCR looking so competitive to each other.
Well, exactly. So that's definitely going to be a key battle on track. The one definitely to keep your eyes on over the next 2 hours of action in this final race of the whole entire core CSS 2014 series. Of course, the next event that follows the core CSS is the ever looming and ever promising VLN series, which is coming up soon. That's 3 hour. That's three-hour races, I believe, around the Nürburgring Nordschleife circuit. So that's going to follow the CSS event, and of course the big one itself, the Nürburgring 24 hours. So make sure that you're going to make sure that you tune in for all the updates on that via the core Facebook page and more. The race now then just having to be restarted due to a false start in that one, so that's why the countdown has come back on screen. There'll be a full restart. We're hearing 2 formation laps as well for this as well. Before then we'll get the green light and we'll start early 2-hour running here from the Matterhorn circuit, a circuit which has provided some thrilling action all weekend, especially during the 3 main overtaking positions around about turn 3 and around turn 8 and around the last section around turn 17, turn 18. So that's definitely a place to keep your eye on. A lot of incidents we saw during yesterday's race with the majority, if not all, of the leaders having at least one issue, one contact with the wall, one bit of damage that really ruined their race. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on throughout the course of the race here this evening. We're hearing it is going to be just the one warm-up lap. The 2 warm-up laps that we were told about is if the drivers didn't choose to restart. However, they have chosen to restart, and there is we're all now set to go then for this first warm-up lap. The cars will then come around in 2x2 formation out of that final corner at turn 19, and will be ready to start the 1 hour 58 minutes or so of running in this final race of the core CSS series so far. The main battle on track will definitely be between the Made for Racing car there of Plux the Duck, and then just behind him in the overall battle it will be Johnny B 1990 second there on the grid. The gap between those two on aggregate is around about 5 seconds, but both drivers will be trying their hardest to not only grab that win here this afternoon, but also to take the overall win as well for their respective teams and really end off their seasons on a high, heading into the VLN rounds to come, and then of course into the main event itself with the Nürburgring 24 hours. You can of course get in touch with all the action here this evening on Twitter this evening as well. The place to go, hashtag core CSS is what you have to plug in via your phone, computer or more. Just type in hashtag course CSS with any shout outs, dedications, questions, or alternatively nominations for either driver of the day, which we'll be doing at about 10 to 10 later on this evening, and then driver of the series, in your opinion, as we round up who we think the driver or team of this core CSS series has been. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on then over the next hour and a half's time. Again, just to say that one more time, hashtag core CSS to get involved with this evening. You can also catch us, of course, on the live stream via the website for your updates, www.coreonlineracing.wix.com/core, plus on the Facebook page and more. But as the cars now head around the tight section of this circuit, then definitely the more tighter elements, the Monte Carlo style tight city street kind of esque to it. But as I then head up here, head around this hairpin to come, definitely one of the tightest elements of this track so far, down through that small bridge and then back through the tighter elements around the mountain, and then they'll open the car back up around the long fast turn 19 and then get ready and set to go then for 2 hours of running here in the final race of this season's Core CSS. There is Clux the Duck from Made for Racing. Right behind him is a gaggle of cars. We've got 8 cars running this evening as well, so definitely one to keep your eye on throughout the night. Definitely a lot of running action. Clux the Duck having to slow down, however, because he seems to have jumped the field behind him slightly as they round the final corner, because there should be a 2x2 formation, but it appears that Clux the Duck is by himself in that 2x2 formation, so perhaps he'll have to get that one sorted. Now they're slowed down, now they're in the 2x2 formation. It's Lucas there on the outside, Johnny B 1990 there in third, but as they come across the start line, Johnny B 1990 straight up into second position and straight on the back of Clux the Duck, definitely where he'll want to be throughout this evening. And as they go through turns 1 and turns number 2 and now into 3 for the first time, Clux the Duck has managed to get the start he needed, managed to stay out there in front. No cars have got past him. However, the only issue for him is he's got Johnny B 1990 behind him. Clux the Duck's spun. Clux the Duck has seemed to have lost the back end slightly. He's all over the place. He's hit the wall. And Clux the Duck was not definitely how he would have wanted to have started that one. No apologies. That appeared to be a very similar looking car.
That was the S15 of Lord. That was. Yeah.
Yeah. What was it? We were following Clux the Duck so much, it appeared that he had gone off, but that is Lord's. Apologies for that. Lord's has gone off. There is now Clux the Duck, just to reiterate, he is still out there and he is still being followed by Johnny B 1990 in the concrete climax car behind as well. 1 hour 55 minutes of action to go on this one, and look, Tom, how close Johnny B is to the back of Clux the Duck. Well, only half a lap gone?
Yes, with only half a lap gone, they're leaving the field, as it were, with the next car being 2 seconds down on them, which is DTL Lucas. Should be interested to see how this will progress.
Well, both Lords Play and RCB, that's RCB in 6th, Play in 7th and Lords in 8th, they've all lost out dramatically during that first lap, so perhaps having their own scraps down there, perhaps having some contact maybe, and they'll have to go into the pits to change that. But as they come across the start line for the first time, it is Clux the Duck who leads the first of about 70 to 80 laps here this evening, we'll be seeing. Johnny B 1990 comes across the line there in second position. Lucas comes across the line in third. Beecher in fourth. Glenhouse 81 in fifth. RCB in sixth. Play in seventh. And then Lord, who we saw have that contact very early on in the opening lap, down there in 8th position, Tom, as they come up towards your position now.
Yes, it just proves to see what a difficult track this is. It's very mountainous and very, very tight, and there's no room for error, as we've been seeing on this first race. Well, in terms of championships, the only rookie teams here are Inferno Racing and Reaper Racing, and that's Glenel's 81 and RCB 929. They're rookie teams, which means they're the only ones that need to do well in this series to pick the cars. All the other teams have already picked the cars, or already organised to pick the cars already. So, really, what we're seeing is Inferno Racing doing really well for a rookie team. I mean, they're in third for the championship.
Well, exactly, so that's definitely something to keep your battle. In terms of the battle on track, you've got the battle between Made for Racing and Concrete Climax for the overall win for the weekend. However, in terms of the championship decided, the main race is between RCB and Glenhouse, because they're the only ones who are racing for anything of major importance here this afternoon. Team Morphine and Concrete Climax Racing Junior are also rookie teams competing this weekend as well, so they're ones to keep an eye out for. But as they come across the line now, look at Johnny B 1990 very sideways there through turns 1 and turns 2. One of the major zones of incidents could happen around turn 2, because that wall ever looming there on the outside, very similar, I think, to the Rockingham wall at turn number 1. But Johnny B 1990 there, he's thrown the car down the inside, but Plucks the Duck manages to close the door just. But Johnny B 1990, he's still got the car firmly planted on the outside line. Plucks the Duck just manages to hold the line, however, as they head through, is that turn number 6. So Johnny B 1990 getting very aggressive so far in this one. He's not hanging back here. He's definitely trying his utmost to get past Plucks the Duck, who now flies over the bump down the hill. He's just managed to defend from Johnny B 1990. But this battle, Tom, this evening between Made for Racing and Concrete Climax Racing appears to be going down to the wire.
Yes, this is certainly a very intense battle, as we're seeing on the screen here. It's all to play for the championship. Plucks the Duck and Johnny B are both very experienced drivers. It's just to see who blinks first, really, as they've got to keep clean and keep out of each other's. So don't crash, basically. That's my advice.
Well, exactly, and look behind as well. We got the Irish driver, a GT Planet Lucas, right behind them as well. So if these two start making contact and going side by side, this could perhaps open the door for Lucas to dive it down the inside as well. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on. In terms of wins this weekend, it's been one win for the Concrete Climax Racing team. Johnny B 1990 has already grabbed some silverware this weekend, and then a win yesterday, of course, for Pikey Mikey in the Made for Racing team. So at the moment it's one each this weekend for both of these teams competing at the front here in this one, but who will get the top honours in terms of the overall standings is confirmed. So at the moment, that's at the moment as it stands, Johnny B's team, Concrete Climax Racing, will still take an overall victory, because Plucks the Duck has not managed to extend more than a 5-second lead over Johnny B 1990. So that's how big that gap has to be towards tomorrow. There's some action happening on track at the moment. KTM Crossbow there of Beachu holding up, it appears. Grenell's 81 behind, who definitely appears to be the racier of those two at the moment at this early stage. RCB behind there in 6th as well, but this is the battle for the lead then between the two. Johnny B 1990 has got the move stuck that time, and they head down towards the tight and twisty section of the course. Can Plucks the Duck manage to find a way through? It appears not, and it appears, Tom, that with 7 minutes to go or so, it appears that Johnny B 1990 has made that move stick, and based on his early pace, perhaps he may start to try and pull away from Plucks the Duck behind.
Yes, this is a possibility, but we've got 2 hours of racing to see how this story ends. But don't count your chickens first. But it's all to play for still. I mean, look how close they are, and no other people are on track.
He's pulling back, Tom. He looks like he's pulling back. Plucks the Duck's headed to the outside. He's gone through. He's managed to get the move stick. He had a good run there, Tom, coming out of turn number 2 and turn number 3, and he's managed to get the move back stick again. So these two will be, it appears, dicing like this the whole way through this 2-hour battle. Remember back, of course, to yesterday when all the leaders had at least one bit of contact with the wall and had to come in to change for damage. So even though these cars will be are out there now, there's nothing to say these two cars might touch and allow cars behind like Lucas, RCB and Glenhouse to be able to perhaps challenge their way back into this. We saw yesterday some of the drivers being able to push themselves up into the lead, even if only for a short time due to contact with the wall. Strategy will also be playing an important part this weekend, as well as they all try and perhaps the undercut, trying different methods to try and jump time during the pit stop. Will you 2-stop? Will you 3-stop? Oh! And Plucks the Duck. He get very wide coming out that corner, and he slammed into the side of Johnny B 1990. He's managed still, however, to hold the line. There was some traffic in front of him. They're the cars that had a very bad start indeed, and they've dropped back down incredibly. But Johnny B 1990 almost got pumped there by the side of Plucks the Duck, and as Plucks the Duck hit Johnny B 1990, Johnny B then hit play on the exit of that hairpin. So perhaps has Johnny B got some damage from that incident, Tom?
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see if his lap times are affected, and if he comes in for the pits, he may be affected. He looks a bit erratic on the road there, but
we're hearing he's got some
certainly
front bike damage from our pit lane reporter,
Yes.
Tom. So perhaps this might be the end of Johnny B's push for this race lead. But apparently he's not being put off by that, because look, he's still there, right on the back of Plux the Duck. Will Johnny B 1990 have to pit for this damage, or will he perhaps try and stretch it to his first stint, Tom?
I think he will pit.
Well, it's going to be interesting because it doesn't seem to have affected him too much, because he's still right on the back of Plux the Duck and still going tooth for nail. And then look behind. Lucas is only about half a second behind both of them, so he's definitely now in the limelight to push for this. Look at that gap between the two drivers out front now. They're literally bumper to bumper, pushing each other. You could barely fit a cigarette paper between those two cars as they dive through the twisty sections, through the tight and twisty sections of this track. We then got Lucas behind there in third, and then behind all this lot we've got Beachy and Glenhouse having their own battle behind as well. Glenhouse trying to find a way past the KTM Crossbow driver in front. And we've only got, what, 15 minutes gone so far in this race. And already, Tom, it's hard to know where to look. Battle for first and second, battle for third and fourth, battles all the way down the field, and cars being lapped already.
It's certainly heated up and full 100% gas running it. 7 minutes in, I mean, this is insane.
Well, exactly. It just shows what kind of great action the Matterhorn circuit can produce, because even though the track is long in distance, the tightness of the layout as well provides a great chance to get really up close and personal with some of these cars as well. But as they make their way back up the hill section towards the kink there at turn number 6, put the car into turn number 7, and then we've got the long right hander, one of the key overtaking positions here at turn number 8. If you can get a good run through the corner and perhaps have a chance going into the next one, but he can't quite line it up, however, and this time it's going to be Plux the Duck who will hold on to this initial advantage. He's got about a 1 to 2 tenths second advantage over Johnny B 1990 behind, and Johnny B 1990 he's putting on some considerable pressure. There's the mistake. There's the mistake for Plux the Duck. He obviously locked up his tyres a tiny bit, perhaps flipped the car to the left too much, or perhaps was that contact with Johnny B 1990 behind to just flick him to the left slightly. But whatever happens, Johnny B 1990 is in the lead of this race. Second for Plux the Duck, and now third for Lucas behind.
Yeah, look at Lucas. He's certainly threatening, and I mean, if anything, if it gets too hot and one of them has an incident, Lucas will be there to pick up the pieces and pick up himself a second position, maybe. But this is really intense racing for such a mean racetrack, if you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, exactly. It's a very unforgiving racetrack. If you make one mistake, it could cause damage, which will ruin your whole race. But look at Plux the Duck now. He's still all over the back of Johnny B 1990 as they dive up towards turn number 4. GT Planet Lucas has dived into the pit lane, so perhaps he has sustained some kind of damage, because we wouldn't expect pit stops to happen this early on in the race. It usually will happen around the 40-minute mark if you're trying to do a 2-stop, unless Lucas is trying something different, perhaps aiming to have a fresher set of tyres to try and get back on terms with these two in front, perhaps trying an undercut, but it would be very early to do so. We're hearing it perhaps is damage to Lucas, who is dropped that down to 4th position, which allows Beachu to move up into 3rd position, meaning the battle out there will be between Lucas and Glenhouse, because Beachu was very close to Glenhouse coming out the pits, and the fact that Lucas has sandwiched between them perhaps suggests there is a 3-way fight going on there for 3rd position, so that perhaps might be definitely something to keep your eye on as well. But here is the battle out front between the two leading drivers. It is Johnny B 1990 leading away from Plux the Duck. A small mistake about a lap or two ago from Plux the Duck has now opened the door to Johnny B at 1990, but the Concrete Climax Racing driver is not yet escaping, as Plux the Duck behind is still looking very racy. His attention's very firmly set on Johnny B 1990 in front and trying to close that gap as quick as possible. We've got Lords there in 8th position coming out the pit lane as well, so some exciting action happening at the moment. Whoa! Plux the Duck sideways again in turn number 2, Tom.
I think he's pushing this car to the limit and then some. But we know this is very much a strategy game, and I think M4R are well known for their strategy, aren't they, Luke?
Well, it's actually, they always like to try and do a different strategy as well. So perhaps a two-stop we think could be the fastest way around this lap. That's definitely what some drivers tried to do yesterday. Concrete Climax Racing perhaps going for a three-stop here today as well. So perhaps, you know, the difference in strategies could play a very important element of this race, because Concrete Climax going for a three-stop, with Major Racing just going for a two-stop. So perhaps that might be where the action comes from. However, yesterday we saw the second-place driver two-stop in. However, Pikey Mikey, who won the race, did a four-stop with damage. So it had to do four stops because he had some damage. So it shows that even with more pit stops, because of the length of the pit lane being not very long here, you can get away with doing some more pit stops to gain some performance, because you're not going to lose too much time in the pit stop phase.
There was a thing about the pit stops are quite slow, and that could affect the strategy somehow. But certainly, I'm just having a look at the fastest times here. I mean, Glenelg's 81 is doing really, really well. I mean, in these first 10 laps, he's been the fastest, and only now is Johnny B 1990 and Plux a Duck getting up to speed with him.
Well, it's all about respect on this track as well. We just saw Lords there getting out of the way for another car, and due to the tight nature, you really have to trust the cars in front who are being blue flagged to move out the way. So perhaps Glenelg has had some of that advantage early on, whereas the cars in front have had some of the cars in front perhaps being blue flagged but not quite moving out the way. So perhaps the back markers here could play a key part in lap time, and also in trying to gain an advantage on the car behind as well. So back marker is definitely a key one in this race.
Yes. It's great that we're seeing this level of this level of, what's the word I'm looking for here? Moving out of the way, sportsmanship in this early in the game. I mean, we've got the VLN coming up, and the big one, the N24, and that's key.
Yeah, it's key around the Everwind circuit, which is so tight. Oh, is that a car sideways there? Appeared it was.
Yeah, that was a Lotus, I believe.
That looked like a play to me.
Yes, that might have been play. That might have been play, yes.
So that's not how he would have wanted to start. We've got Lords there in 8th, playing 7th position. Lucas has lost out to Glenn doing out around the pit stops as well. Yes, he has. Glenn's gone up into 4th position. Lucas in 5th. So Lucas getting that damage earlier on has cost Lucas, because he was right behind the two leaders very early on in this race. Looked to perhaps be able to challenge the two leaders and get a strong podium finish today, but Lucas down in 5th position, Glenelg's there in 4th, Beecher in 3rd position, then the two leaders, of course. Glenelg's very slow coming out that corner, and look, he's now got Lucas back up behind him. So did something happen there with Glenelg? Perhaps he missed a gear change, got some wheel spin or something, because Lucas now right on the back of Glenelg's 81. In fact, he will perhaps try and make that move stick going down the inside into turn number 1. Not quite that time, and Glenelg's will just hold on to 4th position. But what's up there with Glenelg's car? He went very slowly indeed to that last section of the lap, Tom.
Yes, I'm a very much stats man, and Glenelg certainly has the pace on Lucas, but it should be an interesting battle to see as we go through these next few laps.
Well,
exactly. As you can see, the gap is getting bigger now, look, I mean, clearly.
Perhaps he just missed a gear change or something, because he's definitely back up to speed now. Play there in 7th position. He's dived into the pit lane, so it must have been him we saw earlier on that one. Lucas will lose out, however, because there is a power difference in places between the two cars. The Lotus struggles up the hill, and that's perhaps why Glenelg's had that small issue we're hearing. It's more of a power issue than gear changing. He doesn't manage to lose out, so he loses out coming up the hill. However, when coming down the hill, Glenelg appears to be quicker. He's spun and Lucas. He's RCB. RCB hits Glenelg. RCB hits Glenelg. Now, will both cars have some kind of damage, because that hit Glenelg's right rear quite hard there? RCB had quite considerable damage on the front right, which will allow Lucas to get away with it all pretty much scot-free and try and chase after the leaders out front. Now, Glenelg's again going slowly around this pit, but this might just be because of his power issue. Now he's diving into the pit lane now, So Glenhouse has got some considerable damage there, it appears, in the Lotus, and that's not definitely something he would have wanted to continue on in this race. Even though the pit stop window opens in about 20 minutes time, just driving around with damage that considerable really wouldn't be doing him any favours at all. So best to come in, get the damage fixed, and then come back out a fresh donkey once again in this one. So there is Johnny B, 1990, the race leader, as you can see him making his way now around the final corner. That's turn number 19, goes back now down across the start-finish line, and will flick the car into turn number 1. Johnny B, 1990 so far then leading this one for Concrete Climax Racing. Second position is a Major Racing car, Pluxed Up. Third for Beachu. Fourth for GT Planet Lucas. Fifth for RTB. Sixth for Glenhouse. Seventh for Play. Eighth then for Lords at the foot of the field. Great on board shot then with Johnny B, 1990. Let's just listen, Tom, and ride on board with the leading Concrete Climax Racing driver, Johnny B, 1990.
Yes, you can certainly see the gradients of the track. I mean, look as we go around this corner, there's a lot of camp.
Well, a fantastic sounding car there for Johnny B, 1990. He's definitely stamping his authority down so far on this weekend. A win in Friday's race, and he appears on course to bag the points yet again here in this afternoon's race, and perhaps even grasp the overall win for Concrete Climax Racing, because he will be extending that 5-second gap that there is between Concrete Climax in first position and then Mayfair Racing in second position. So that's definitely a great result for Johnny B, 1990. If he could do that, oh no, he's very sideways coming out that corner, and in fact he's lost quite a lot of ground there coming out of turn number 18. Has he got any back markers behind him? Yes, he's got Play behind him, but he shouldn't give him too much hassle from behind. Pluxed Up, there he is coming through shot now. He must be about what, 4 to 5 seconds behind, so perhaps Pluxed Up will feel a bit more inspired about that, because he's showing that Johnny B is vulnerable and is letting some mistakes go in between there as well. So Johnny B, 1990 works himself his way back around the circuit for the 14th time in this one, because even though the lap counter said 15 laps, one of which was of course the warm-up lap, he has got Play behind him, and now Johnny B, 1990 will chase after the next back marker, which I believe will be RCB, Glenn and Lucas in front. So that's the battle out there, and because they're those three drivers are very tightly packed together, perhaps that will cause some issues for Johnny B, 1990. We know that last time he was around a gaggle of cars, he made contact with RCB, so definitely worth keeping your eye on that one, Tom.
Yes, it's all about getting out of the way and considering each other's races. As we're seeing here, Johnny B has pulled a 5-second gap on Pluxed Up, so I think that more than makes up for I believe they will win this race this weekend.
Yeah, because that'll move the overall gap to 10 seconds between the two teams.
Okay. So, okay, right. Matt.
Yeah. So just another quick discussion point is Play there in 7th position. He got damage near the start. However, he could be a hot contender towards the end as he works his way back through the field, Tom.
He's had a few pit stops. I mean, he's on his 3rd one now, I believe. Yes. So, he's certainly got pace. It should be interesting to see if he can make anything from that.
Well, exactly. So definitely worth watching Play. He's just dived into the pit lane now. Now, will that be for more damage, or is that a routine pit stop? It'll be very early for a routine pit stop if he's trying to do a 2-stop at 25 minutes gone. However, perhaps if he's trying a 3-stop, this is the ideal time for Play to jump in the pit lane. So we'll keep your eye on that at the moment. And top 3 at the moment appear to be in the same shot. We've got Johnny B, 1990 just in front of Pluxed Up, and then we've got Beachu just a small way behind, a Portuguese driver there in 3rd position. In terms of nationalities represented here today, we've got 3 Brits. Johnny B, 1990 currently leading, Pluxed Up in 2nd, and then Glenhouse 81 in 5th position. Portuguese drivers are being represented by Beachy there in 3rd, and then Lords there in 8th position. Irish drivers being represented in 4th position. in terms of Lucas. We're hearing that Lucas is Polish, not Irish, so a Polish driver there being represented by Lucas in 4th position. Glenelg's Scottish driver as well there in 5th position. And then we got one American on the grid with RCB99, and then Play there in 7th, the Swedish driver as well. So it's good to see then, Tom, a wide variety of nationalities being represented this evening in this course CSS final race of the series.
Yes, that's the great thing about online racing. Lots of different people from lots of different parts of the world all coming together to share their racing skills. Yeah,
just bringing different cultures together, different nations together, and definitely helps. It definitely helps bringing people together doing that one as well. So there is Lucas and the Polish driver with the Irish flag, but he is Polish apparently, driving around at the moment in 4th position, trying to chase after Beachu in front. Lords has spun just in front, however, Lucas, as you can see there, and Lucas will go past him now. He is going through to lap Lord, so he's not pole position, but Lord's there having a small incident there, Tom.
Yes, Lords has had a disastrous race, safe to say. I mean, he's 4 laps down on the lead position, but good on him for carrying on with that. I mean, he's visited the pit stop about 5 times now.
Oh, was that Play having a mistake as well there? We heard that Play there, perhaps making contact with the wall. Lords is coming to the pit lane, so he obviously has sustained some damage in the incident we saw as Lucas went by. It appears now that Play's obviously sustained some damage as well, so Lucas had a contact a bit early on as well, but it just shows that if you have the one mistake and then get your head down, then you can move back up through the field. He's currently lying there in 4th position, chasing after the 3 leaders out front, who are apparently very close together. The gap between the 2 leaders about 5 seconds, we believe. Beachu there just a short way behind Clucks the Duck, but we'll need to confirm how many seconds exactly he is behind the 2 leaders in front. There's Plays going very slowly indeed, Tom, so there's obviously some major damage there with him. Glenelg goes Play. Oh, he nearly has contact there with Play on the exit. So Play, he's trying to get out the way, but he almost made contact there with Glenelg, the Scottish driver, running in 5th position.
It's some. Oh,
who's that behind? It's
maybe?
RCB's just made contact. He just hit off that car. That was Lords. So RCB just making contact with Lords there and putting Lords back in the wall. Now Lords has been in and out of the pits for contact every 3 or 4 minutes it seems. So he's definitely not been Lords' day so far. However, RCB, they're making that contact. Will that perhaps get him a Stewart's inquiry?
Every incident is looked upon in core very deeply and investigated very thoroughly, and they'll make a decision based on that.
Well, exactly, because that appeared as if he was coming down a hill and hit him. However, from this angle, when we analyse with the different camera angles, then we'll see exactly what happened in that incident. RCB in the pit lane, that's probably for contact with Lords. Perhaps he got some more damage on the front of his car. Plays in the pits, we know that because he was going slowly. Lords, interestingly, it appears is staying out there, but he may not have come through past the timer line yet. So that's definitely very interesting to see what he's doing there. We're hearing Johnny B should be in for a proper pit stop soon. Yes, he should be, because if he is 3 stopping, then that time, the pit window for him would be around 27 to 33 minutes. So we are expecting Johnny B 1990 to hit it bang in the middle there, 30 minutes, and jump into the pit lane for his first routine pit stop. If he's trying a 3 stop, he could alternatively change his mind and go for the 2 stop, but then he'll have to wait 10 minutes and come in at around 40 minutes or so gone in this race. That time, of course, in the top right hand corner, so when it hits 40, we'll see most people 2 stopping down into the pits. However, Johnny B with the 3 stop is going in a minute, when it says about 30 minutes time, so around about now-ish. We've just seen Beachu come into the pits and come out again in front of Lucas, so perhaps that gap is shortened slightly between those 2 drivers for 3rd and 4th. Johnny B 1990 and Club Stock, however, the battle between Concrete Climax Racing and Made Racing going down to different pit stop strategies. Johnny B due round this time or next time round, whereas Club Stock due in around 10 minutes time, Tom.
I'm just having a look at the timing screens here, and it seems that Glenelg's 81 is currently the fastest car on track, with setting a blistering 1:30.2, and that is a hell of a lot quicker than the rest of the field.
Well, exactly. Glenelg's then he's definitely put his boot down now. Definitely starting to find the form around this Matterhorn circuit. It's one of the tightest circuits, one of the longest circuits here on the CSS calendar. And in fact, Glenhouse now is starting to close back up on Lucas in front. So it shows his hard work is definitely starting to pay off here for the Scottish driver in 4th position. He's trying to close up on Lucas in front, and Lucas between them is trying to close up on Pichu, who's just made his pit stop, and therefore they'll be quite close. However, Lucas is yet to make his first initial. No, Nevis Beachy made an initial pit stop because he had to pit in for damage. However, Beachy may have decided to include that in a strategy and go for a 3-stop now and change it from a 2-stop. So that could be something to keep your eye on as well. 32 minutes or so gone in this race there. 1 hour 28 minutes of action still to go. You can get in touch with us right here in the commentary box and in the studio then if you want any shout outs today, dedications, if it's someone's birthday or any questions you got for the team, or alternatively just a nomination for today's driver of the day and driver of the CSS series. You can send all that in via Twitter, #CoreCSS. Make sure you get in touch with us as Lords is back in the pit lane, and Johnny B 1990 stays out again, so he's definitely not making a contorted effort, Tom, to go for this 3-stop. Could this perhaps be a move towards the 2-stop, or is he trying to stretch this run further so he can have some fresher tyres at the end of the race?
If he's going for a 3-stop, I reckon it'll be in about lap 26, maybe 26, yeah, around that mark anyway. But
you could do, definitely. You could try and stretch it further and then try and have some fresher tyres on his last set in around an hour or so time. So that's definitely an option for him, because you can't win the race, of course, in the first half an hour. It all comes down to what your tyres are like in the last 20 or so minutes time to have that car there and ready to go. There is Beachu in 3rd position. We've got Lucas, the Polish driver, just behind him. Then we've got Glenhouse in 5th position. And then we've got RCB there trailing in 6th, Play there in 7th, and then Lords in 8th. So a very tight field so far between these cars. For you, Tom, based on what you've just seen so far during this race, who do you think has the potential today to the race victory?
I think Johnny B is a strong contender for the victory this evening. As he's got a 12-second gap on Flux now. I mean, he's not going to come back from that in 2 hours. I hope he does though, but whatever.
Well, that 12-second gap is now 17 seconds on the overall gap as well. So it just is getting better for the Conflict Climax Racing team.
Yes. Shall we go through gap times? I reckon that'll be appropriate.
Yeah, just read out the gaps actually, between the top 8 drivers, as we've just seen Glenhouse come out of the pit lane, and there behind is that Pluxer Duck. Yes, it's a good.
Yes,
so Glenhouse coming out right in front of Pluxer Duck. Not what Pluxer Duck there would have wanted, just getting some traffic there as Glenhouse comes out the pit lane. But now Glenhouse there, he's got play behind, but that's a back marker as well. So back marker is definitely playing their part now during this tight and twisty Matterhorn circuit. But we'll hand back over to Tom then, who'll read out the gaps between the drivers and how that could affect the conclusion of this race.
Okay, so Johnny B 1990 is in the lead with a 12-second gap on Pluxer Duck. Bichu is 39 seconds behind Pluxer Duck, and that Lucas is around 5 seconds behind Bichu, and the gap between Lucas and Glenhouse is 48 seconds. I believe Glenhouse has just gone in for his mandatory pit stop, I believe. The difference between Glenhouse and RCB, the 2 top rookies, is 15 seconds. So that's definitely quite close compared to the rest of the field. And the difference between RCB 929 and Play 117 is about a lap, and then the rest of the field is Lords is 3 laps off of Play. So we'll see how the strategy play out and what happens, and see if the gaps get any closer but I think they're going into a mode of...
Hang on, sorry to interrupt you, Tom. That's Glenelg's 81. It appears in the wall there on the side. Now, Glenelg's was just... Glen was being held up by Plox in front to really get his foot down with the fresh tyres. And there it appeared, Glenelg's 81, making some slight contact with the wall. So perhaps that's more damage, and perhaps that may be a forced pit stop now for Glenelg's.
Yes, I think it will be. We'll just observe his movements across the track. That turn 1 really is quite a difficult one. It's like a chicane on the edge of a mountain.
Well, exactly. It's definitely an interesting battle there between those two. RCB behind in 6th position. He can perhaps try and find a way past Glenelg's 81, which would put, if RCB did that, it would put them in the lead of the rookie championship. Glen has damage. You can see the smoke there trailing off his car. He's got wheel spin, all sorts. That's definitely not great for Glenelg's, which will put RCB in a position to take the rookie championship. So definitely a great day in the office for RCB in that one to perhaps clinch that title as well, but there's still a long way to go. 1 hour and 20 minutes or so in this one. The first round of mandatory pit stops are just a few minutes away.
Yeah, we've got Glenelg's in the pits now. Yep, RCB has overtaken him, but with Glenelg's blistering pace, we could see that gap of around 30 seconds, I believe it will be by the time he's left the pit stops, start to decrease quite rapidly. So what are your thoughts on the RCB versus Glenelg's 81? You can leave comments on live stream and also Twitter. I believe the hashtag is CSS. If you want to hit us up on there. So what are your thoughts on this battle, Luke?
Well, it appears then that Johnny B 1990 is going for the 2-stop. He's obviously felt the tyres, he feels they're going fine, and he feels that they will be okay to continue on. He's definitely going out there. He's only 1 minute and 40 seconds or so away to be hitting the target time for a 2-stop. So it just shows that perhaps you can change strategies and make it work effectively for you. Because even though Glenelg's made that contact a bit earlier on, he can now work this into his pit stop strategy, because it was around the time for a 2-stop, and then perhaps limit the damage he'll have on that car as well. So it could all work out quite well for Glenelg's in that respect, Tom.
Yes, and certainly the battles will hot up as we get to the end of the race. We've got what, an hour and 20 minutes, and certainly the action we've seen in this first 24 laps. Seriously, I think we're going to get same old. We're going to get a good novel out of this one. I mean, this is one for the history books.
Right, okay then. So that's definitely something then to keep your eye on in that one. We've only got about 30 seconds or so until we should be seeing the next set of pit stops take place. Plox the Duck is expected to make his pit stop, and now so is Johnny B 1990. Both of them, first of all, it was just Johnny B who's switching to the 2-stop, as Plox the Duck was scheduled to do the 2-stop. So that's them two. Perhaps Johnny B 1990 realised that he might lose more ground doing a 3-stop with the time spent in the pit lane, because he hasn't really escaped Plox the Duck. Perhaps his thought to try to take the most out of the tyres, and a 3-stopping didn't work out how he wanted to, and perhaps he's now being forced to do the 2-stop because he knows he's not going to gain much from the extra time on the 3-stop. We saw Playden having a small spin. Lords is back in the pit lane. Johnny B 1990 is in the pits. John is in the pits. Here we go. This is the main event, sort to say, at the moment. In Plox, we're hearing, has followed him in the pit lane as well. Has played there some more mistakes. There's that's Beachu going right around the outside of him. So that's that battle developing there. So the two leaders now in the pit lane. So they followed each other in. They're not trying to do an undercut or try and jump in the pit stops. They're playing it simple, both in at the same time, meaning no time will be gained or lost. the gap will then remain around about 11 to 12 seconds then between the two leaders. Johnny B leading for Concrete Climax Racing, second place for Clutched Up for Major Racing, third position for Beachy, fourth for Lucas. RCB also in the pit lane as well. That must be his second or third stop so far this afternoon. Glenhouse in sixth. Clay having a bad day really at the office. He's all over the place around that tight section after some contacts and spins. Eighth there, then for Lords, who rounds up the 8-car field. So Glenn moved up to 5th position as well. He's been putting in some blistering pace as well. So Glenn really showing his hand and moving up there into 5th position. Long Play now has come back into the pit lane as well. So he's obviously got some considerable damage for all that dancing around on track. Johnny B 1990 still leads the way. Fresh Rubber, who will be able to get the hammer down. Make sure you don't miss all the action. This is the core CSS round 5 race 3 action. The leaders heading up now then through the Swiss Alps here at Matterhorn. There is Plucks the Duck, just a short way in front as well. He's looking on course here then to challenge Johnny B 1990 in front. It could be a very interesting battle between those two drivers out front. Welcome back here then to the Matterhorn circuit for round 5, race 3 of the course CSS. Sorry about that small technical issue, obviously something happened on our side of it, but we are back here then with action from Matterhorn. It's currently still Johnny B 1990 leading the way from Plucks the Duck. No, perhaps not. Plucks the Duck is out according to our timing screen. So the minute that we car off there, suddenly all the action happens. Plucks the Duck's crashed, dropped back down to 3rd position, meaning Beachu in the KTM Crossbow jumped up to 2nd position. What news we bring to viewers here at the Matterhorn circuit? Plucks the Duck into the pit lane. Pitted, but he's had to go in 3rd position. But how far behind is the cars of Lucas and Glenhouse? Could they perhaps start to get back on terms in Glenhouse? Now, surely, Tom, we've been robbed of a battle out front between the Concrete Climax Racing and the Major Racing drivers, and it appears, Tom, that will be game over in terms of the overall weekend results are concerned. It appears Concrete Climax Racing is now cruising to an overall weekend race victory.
It might be the case, but I'd like to see Plucks the Duck versus Lucas and Bichu, and that should be a good battle.
Lucas has jumped up to 3rd position on lap. Plucks the Duck dropped down to 4th position, so it's definitely cost Plucks.
Yes, and he won't be repeating that mistake again, I'll tell you that. Just goes to show what a challenging circuit this is, and it doesn't affect the best of the best. I mean, he's just had a moment.
Yeah, GT Lucas there having a bit of a sideways moment there. We've got RCB there behind us coming through. It appears Lucas there coming through to lap RCB. So some of the back markers again causing some problems for these drivers out there on the tight and twisty Matterhorn circuit. 1 hour 40 minutes then of action still to go. Johnny B out front. Beachu there in second position. So that's a battle out there on track at the moment, and we'll now hand over to Tom, who will talk you through the rest of the action here at Matterhorn.
Okay. Right, we'll go through the standings. I mean, we just had a big standing change with Plucks the Duck dropping down to 4th after a massive crash. Don't know how big the crash was. Technical difficulties again. We've got Johnny B leading Bishu, and then we've got Lucas in 3rd and Plucks the Duck going down to 4th. I mean, that is pretty shocking. I mean, I didn't expect that. Glenelg's 81 in 5th, leading over RCB 929, and this is where the real battle is. Certainly for actual real stuff, not just for the championship, but these are the 2 rookie teams fighting out for their car choice, their car selection in the N24. We've got Clay and Lord in the back, 7th and 8th respectively. Right, we'll have a look at fastest laps now, being as Johnny B 1990 has set a 1:29.9, and I don't quote me on this, but I believe it's the fastest lap of the weekend, and I'm pretty sure it definitely is the fastest lap we've seen this race. We've got Bichu with a 1:31.5, so certainly nippy, but he's off the pace of Johnny by quite a long way. Lucas is setting 1:32.6s, and we've got Plucks Duck with a 1:31.0. So he's oh no, he's not. He's certainly one of the fastest on track. We've got Glenelg's 81. With a 1:30.2, and that is surprising for the little Lotus at the back. I mean, Glenelg's is an experienced driver, so really we're expecting it, but to see him in 5th with that sort of pace, shocking. We've got RCB 99 with a 1:30.7. That's very quick to say how far down the field he is, but still not as quick as Glenelg's. Are close, but no cigar. Play's fastest lap is a 1:32.2, and Lord's is a 1:40, so well off the pace there. He's certainly having a bad race this weekend. Yes, just to clarify, not this weekend, the fastest lap we've seen is a 1:29.6, and hopefully we'll see that surpassed. I'm hoping, because we've still got at least an hour and 10 minutes left. And oh yes, that one's the 1:29.6 was set in race 1, so don't know what the pace was in race 2 yesterday, but certainly is nippy. Should be seeing Johnny B getting up to a 1:29.5 maybe. As soon as he is on his third stint, I mean. He's going for a 3-stop bit strategy. Again, if you've got any thoughts and opinions on the race predictions, or driver of the seasons, or driver of the series, or driver of the weekend, just whack them in the live stream commentary chat, or you can use the hashtag CoreCSS on Facebook or Twitter. We're both on there. We've got a Facebook page, that's Core Online Racing. Check that out and give us a like. We put daily stuff from all of our series on there, especially with the N24 coming up. Certainly a place to watch.
Lord's just jumped into the pit lane, it appears, Tom. So, interesting pit stop there for Lord's in 8th position. RCV, we're currently watching in 6th position, the American driver making his way around the circuit in that KTM Crossbow. We saw some decent action during yesterday's race, of course. Contact with the wall, it led to about 4 or 5 lead changes at some point, and interestingly, the leader always seemed to make contact with the wall somewhere, leading to several different leading to several different lead changes and different damages as well for the leading driver. So perhaps that kind of issue may lead to Johnny B 1990 as well today, and perhaps put Bichu and Lucas back into play. Now, what's this going on with Lords at the end of the pit lane? It appears he's not just allowing the cars to pass in front, because he's let about 3 or 4 cars, and now he's not going either at the end of the pit lane, or perhaps he's just letting all of that markers back through and then he can continue again. But it seems a very interesting strategy to do that, Tom. Or perhaps has he just decided to call it a day and retire from this race?
Being 8 laps down, I've certainly seen drivers retire with less laps down than that, so maybe that is a retirement. But the wise option would be to go into the pit lane and do it that way, not to be on track and cause a...
I don't think you can stop the pit lane, can you? I think that might be the best place to stop, because he's off the main exit, he's off the racing line, and he's not going to cause drivers to have to slow down in any way. So even though he's still on that line, it is a safe place to do it. But it seems a shame, really, to retire from the race due to the fact that there is still a long way to go in this one. He has still got 1 hour and 8 minutes or so to go in the race. It seems a shame to retire so early on. We're hearing he is now moving, actually, so it might not be the end of the road yet for Lords. Perhaps just changing something, or perhaps he just had to pause it, grab a toilet break, and then come back into the car again. That's always an option. But GT Lucas here is diving into the pit lane now. This will be for one of his pit stops. I'm not sure whether this one is scheduled or if it's just for damage or not, but we'll get that to you when we can get it, in terms of how these pit strategies are playing out. Johnny B 1990 and leading away. Now, what is the gap, Tom, between Bichu in second place and Johnny B in front?
That would be 54 seconds.
54 seconds. So really now, there's no realistic way in which Johnny B 1990 could get challenged for that race lead unless he makes a monumental mistake.
And yes, this is going to be a curse of a commentator, isn't it? Because
we're going to say it now, and then he'll fly off the track somewhere in about 10 minutes time.
Yes, he'll fly off the mountainside.
So Johnny B 1990, the gap there about 50 plus seconds between him and Michu, so that gap's not going to detain itself. In terms of looking at the timer screens now, Tom, what kind of gaps seem to be the closest action? Like, where's all the action happening on track?
Bichu and Plux a Duck are 11 seconds, so that could be something to watch out for. And Glen Al's and RCB have a 14-second gap, so they could be coming up in the next few laps as potential battles. Oh no, well, I think Bichu's just coming through for a pit stop, so that'll be us robbed of a battle for Plux a Duck as he takes in the second position.
Plux a Duck there, and we're hearing he may be a bit tired then behind that wheel. He doesn't appear to be giving it his all. Perhaps that might be because Plux a Duck realises now the game's over. He cannot close the gap between him and Johnny B, being it 50 plus seconds, plus Plux a Duck. He already has to gain more than 5 seconds on Johnny B 1990 to win the overall battle. So perhaps Plux is not... the form doesn't seem to be with Plux today, and perhaps it's just not going to be his day this afternoon.
To be honest, he is in second position, so
to still gain some valuable points there as well to stick in that second position. Lucas, Bichu and Plux, the main fight. Bichu, Lucas and Plux.
Bichu and Lucas are really close.
Lucas and Bichu are currently battling. That's the one that you can see at the moment on your screen. Well, I can't because my screen is frozen here in the commentary box, but I'm sure Tom can enlighten you further in that battle on track at the moment.
Yes, I can. Bichu and Lucas are very evenly matched in pace and speed, but the gap is remaining steady as we go over the final nether regions of the track. Yes, the gap is around just under a second, and we'll see if that affects anything. Hey, up. Something just happened to Plux a Duck. Is he running slow for some reason, or Bichu is past Flux of Duck, and I don't even know. Flux of Duck is back down into 4th. Has he picked up damage? Or. Yes, I believe he's picked up some damage, and that's unfortunate because he was doing so well, and it seems he's had a bit of an incident, and I think I'll have to come into pit. Yes, he's in the pits right now, and Bichu there getting a bit
Yes, so Tom, the battle it appears on track is between Bichu and Plux, are we saying, on track. So that's definitely the battle to keep your eye on. Plux back in the pit lane, and Lords is back in the pit lane there as well. So we have had some casualties in this one as well. There is, I know, Bichu and Lucas even is the battle we're looking at on track. That gap about 4/10 or so of a second, it appears, between those two. The KTM crossbow there, Bichu just in front of the Polish driver, Lucas behind. But Lucas has looked racy today. He's not going to be giving up that battle, and he'll be giving it his all right until the end here today and trying to close the gap for Bichu. But Johnny B 1990 so far has had it all his own way, cruising out front. Surely he is on course to grab victory, not only for himself this afternoon, but also the Concrete Climax team for the weekend's result.
To be fair, this is the first results I've ever been sure of in a race before, because we do get some hectic races with Core, but certainly with a lap in front of everyone else, I think he's got this one in the bag.
Even if he makes a mistake, he'll have enough time in the bag to come in, have damage, and then still get out with a good 15 to 20 seconds lead. So, you know, the only thing now that Johnny B 1990 can do is completely throw this race away, make two or three mistakes, but now surely it's his race to lose, Tom.
We pray for good connection.
Yeah, one disconnection now for Johnny B 1990, definitely not good. Now his teammate Memto89, he's had some issues himself with disconnection this week as well. So you can't count him out either, because if his teammate has had some disconnection issues, that doesn't mean to say the whole of the Concrete Climax Racing team will not have disconnections as well. And of course, Memto89 having disconnections, I believe, was that Trial Mountain he disconnected, and at Deep Forest Raceway he disconnected, but we'll get more on that when we get it.
Yes, but people's internet are different. As Johnny B 1990 and Memto89 are different people.
They are different people. They have different.
Pointing out the obvious.
They have different agendas, different IP addresses, different everything. However, Johnny B 1990, if he disconnected now, then I'll love to see his face afterwards.
Ooh, I don't think we should talk about disconnections. I mean, this could be kind of, we'd bring it on ourselves if someone disconnected right now.
Well, then it would bring Bichu up into the race lead, and it would allow Lucas. Then it will allow Bichu and Lucas to have a good fight for the lead for us as well. Lords is back in the pit lane, so that must be. Is that 5 stops now? It must be around that number.
9.
For 9?
9.
9. So if we're saying that
he's got a loyalty card.
If we're saying that one of those is an actual pit stop, then does that suggest he's had 8 pit stops for damage today?
I believe he has, yes.
Right, so as they make their way around the lap at the moment, then there is Johnny B 1990 currently leading the way. Got about a minute or so gap at the moment. We believe he's not quite a lap ahead yet. It's because the time on the screen doesn't quite refresh. I can't believe, surely he hasn't lapped all the cars on the track at the moment. We're only an hour,
I'm looking at it from my perspective on the time screen, and he has. Yep.
So Johnny B 1990 in dominant form. If one lap's about a minute and a half and he's gone over behind him, he must have about a minute or around about minute 30, minute 40 gap at the moment. So Johnny B 1990 really now in the thick of things, really grabbing the attention to everyone else. He's really buzzing, it appears then, for this race today, and surely nothing can go wrong for him as he heads now into the pit lane. We hit the hour mark, so this is not a routine pit stop for Johnny B 1990 because he's nowhere near the second pit stop window because we know he's two stopping. So I'm guessing, presuming Tom, this is damage somewhere, which means Beachu inherits the lead. Now hang on a second, if he was a lap ahead, how's Beachu inherited the lead?
He hasn't.
Yes, he has. No, he hasn't. No,
He hasn't.
No. However, he is right on time. He is right on time for a three-stop strategy.
Yes.
So perhaps he's now making that three-stop where perhaps he's stretched. Now, this makes sense. Perhaps he was stretching the two-stop because he was battling Clubs. However, now he knows he's got the race in the bag. He doesn't have to take the risk with the two-stop. And he can afford to do 3 stops, 4 stops, 5 stops because he has the time in the bag.
Yes, I believe his original strategy was a 3 stoppers anyway, so
yeah,
he's not picked up any damage, and all he's got to do is follow his little sheet that he did maths on.
Well, exactly. He's not at the moment. He's looking so comfortable out there that he could actually do as much as he can.
There, but play has a massive spin coming out of turn 1, and that steep uphill descent.
That's one of the incident zones, so to say, of the weekend race circuit around about turn 2, turn number 3, because the walls are so close to the circuit there on the outside. That's where the contact's going to be. That's where the damage is going to be. And play again falls foul to the walls on the outside and plays victim once again. That must be his 7th or 8th stop now if he has to come in for damage, because he's had a bad run of it as well so far today. 6 stops he's done so far. So if he has to pit again, then that'll be 7th, it seems. So not good there for play in that one. As they make their way around the race circuit, but going back then to what I was previously saying, because Johnny B has got about a lap over the rest of the field. If he wanted to, he could pit once every 15 minutes to make sure his tyres don't burst or puncture or anything. Because he has the time in the bag, he could now effectively cruise a lap, pit 3 more times, and it'd still have a comfortable margin. So it just shows the sheer dominance that Johnny B has been placing on this race so far.
He could, but he's a race driver basically. The only reason he's at the top of the field is because he's really determined about racing. I mean, he's not going to give up now, is he?
Well, exactly. There's no need to lay down when you've got enough time of a gap to get in there as well. There's no point in rushing it all the time. As well, you can just keep your cool down there. No need to get ahead of yourself, and make sure that you get with the action as well. So there is Lucas. Then we just saw him make a small mistake just a second ago. It doesn't seem though to have cost him too much. He's still out there giving his all out there, currently lying in 3rd position. And also that's another talking point, Tom. It just shows that you can make one mistake very early on, then keep it clean, and then still manage to make up the ground in front. Because even though Lucas made a small mistake a bit earlier on, he still managed to keep clean, and he's currently lying in 3rd position. However, the contact with the wall a second ago may not have done his chances for this afternoon good at all.
Yes, we saw him crash on that elusive, really, really bad turn 10. I mean, it's just straight downhill, and you got a really tight blind corner at the bottom of it. Many drivers struggled with that in race 1, I believe.
There is Pluxer Duck as well. He's coming up to try and unlap himself from Johnny B 1990. Now then, this was the battle for the lead earlier on, but it just shows how half an hour's difference can make. Pluxer Duck, well, about 20 minutes difference can make. Because around the first set of stops, these two were still battling for the lead, but now Johnny B 1990 must be about two minutes or so ahead of Pluxer Duck on the road as he tries to unlap himself. 1 minute 30 then, the gap between the two drivers. Johnny B 1990 dominating this race. Pluxer Duck at the moment lying in 4th position. What's the gap, however, Tom, between Pluxer Duck in 4th and Lucas there in 3rd, as we see Pluxer Duck might have a massive slide coming out of that corner, perhaps doing some more damage to his tyres, perhaps flat spotting them slightly, which will not do his campaign to charge after Lucas in front and unlap himself any help at all.
Yeah, so I believe GT Lucas might be coming up for pit stop shortly, so that'll put. Yep, he's in the pits now, and Flux will go up the order, and Lucas will go down. I'm not sure how far he'll go down, but I'm guessing about 5th position maybe.
Well,
cars are pretty close.
Yeah, so Lucas into the pit lane. That's probably something to do with that damage he occurred a lap or so ago, where he smashed the wall coming out of turn number 10, and that's the consequences of pushing the limit too far around the circuit. You're going to have contact, and you're going to hit the wall. You're going to have contact, and you're going to have to be forced to pit. So all Motor Racing here have to do is to finish above 6th anyway. So they have technically won the championship unless Flux disconnect. So all they've got to do is finish above 6th in this one overall. So even if Flux just stays where he is, he's fine. But a disconnection could seriously damage their chance for the overall victory. So one disconnection issue now for Flux and Duck could cost them not only today's race, but also the championship as well.
Yes, as we see, Flux and Duck and M4R really are benefiting from that winning streak. I mean, they won the first 3 weekends, and they had a bit of a bad showing at Eigen Norwand, but now they're back on form. I mean, not quite up to the top, but they're doing well. It's nice to see.
Well, exactly, and another thing to say then about how the championship's set up is what happens if, okay, for example, I'll paint a picture here. What happens if you have faultless weekend, keep scoring consistent points, but the championship battle is still open, then you disconnect on the final round?
If you take all the rest of the weekends, I think
perhaps a drop score system may be kind of a useful thing to put in place for the future, to kind of cater for disconnections, but perhaps that's something that'll have to be decided above us in that department. So back then with the action, Tom, we've got Lucas there currently lying in 6th position. He's chasing after RCB in front. Now then, Tom, I believe this is a battle for position on track and for 5th position, because Lucas just made his pit stop and has come out there in 6th position, so now chasing after RCB in 5th position. Lucas very wide, it appeared there, Tom, coming through turn number 7. He almost appeared lost the back end there, having a decent slide. As Lucas now, he flicks the car through turn number 10. He's getting very dirty there, appeared. Turn number 9. Oh, he makes contact with the wall.
Victim.
He makes contact with the wall on the outside. That's going to give him damage, and that is perhaps his battle with RCB over before it's really got started. Well, it just shows as well, Tom, the walls, they're positioned so close together that even if you run wide slightly or lock up your tyre, you're going to hit something.
It's very reminiscent of the Nürburgring.
It is.
This is what they're preparing for in February, the N24.
It's good practice, this circuit, as well, for the VLN, which takes place, of course, the VLN coming straight after this. There's 3 3-hour races, I believe, around the Nordschleife circuit with the Nürburgring 24-hour cars. So it gives themselves a sort of a qualifying sort of race thing to get sorted, sort of a practice dummy of the Nürburgring 24 hours, but on a much shorter proportion. And then the Nürburgring 24 hours itself in February to March time. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on, Tom. Definitely one of the main events to keep out watching for. Of course, all the updates for the Nürburgring 24 hours will be, of course, on the Core Facebook page, on the Core website, and more. So definitely worth staying in touch with that. Joining us on the live stream throughout the 24 hours with live commentary as well. So make sure you don't miss the Nürburgring 24 hours. Of course, this car selection series is just mainly to select your car. Whoever wins the championship or whoever's did the series last year will have first pickings on the cars for the VLN and the Nürburgring 24. So that's why, in a way, this championship is so important to get yourself ready, pumped, and get the best setup for the most important race of the year.
Yes. This is to decide what car you pick. For rookie teams, this is a really big priority. Is that Lord in the wall again?
Doesn't surprise me, to be honest, but that's been the story of Lord's Day, to be honest. But however, the contact at the wall there with Lucas, it's helping Infinity get top place for the Rookie Championship, and it means that Poland 24 will be losing out to Concrete Climax Racing in the overall championship. So not good there for Lucas in that one. Of course, Lucas in 5th position for the Poland 24 racing team. However, Johnny B 1990 dominated the race so far, so that's going to extend the points to Concrete Climax Racing in the championship, and could perhaps mean that Poland 24 do not beat them, so to say, in that series.
It's yes, Inferno Racing have done very well this season. I mean, they're tied with P24 on points in the championship, so they're doing well. They are doing rather well at the moment, and yes.
So in terms of Inferno, they've had a good start then, because it's their rookie championship. They haven't, of course, done the core CSS before. They haven't done the level in 24 hours before, so it's been a good showing then for the Inferno Racing team, and perhaps this opens up a chance to compete in further core series in the future, and then come back next year stronger than ever and battling some of the big guns perhaps for core CSS championships and never in 24 hours victories as well in the near future, Tom.
Yes, certainly they've done well for themselves. I mean, look at Glenel's 81. I mean, he's creeped his way up to 3rd position and didn't even see that one. Glenel's is another a member of a new team called Reaper Racing. I mean, they did the VLN last year, but due to difficulties, they couldn't complete the N24, which means they still classed as a rookie team. So they've got to compete in this series to get their car selection.
Well, exactly. So it's definitely worth taking part in the series. However, Tom, even if you are qualified, of course, those who took part in the Never in 24 hours last year, they are automatically put in for this year's race. However, those who haven't, the new teams, must do this car selection series. However, for those who are automatically signed up for the Never in 24 hours, the CSS just gives you a chance really to get back in the flow of the action if you aren't a regular to core races, to really get a feel for how core operates its races. Again, a real good reminder of how that works. Plus as well, it'll give you a chance to suss out the competition ahead of Never in 24 hours as well, so it gives you a strong chance to really stabilise your thoughts for the main event and really get the best plan and mood set to succeed for that Never in 24-hour event in February to March 2015. Right, so then the current standings in this race, and then we'll read out how that will affect in terms of the championship as well. So the current standings today at the moment, and we've got Johnny B 1990 leading away from Beachu in 2nd position, Glenn in 3rd, RTB in 4th, Lucas in 5th position, then we've got Pluxy Duck in 6th, Play in 7th, and then Lords in 8th position. In terms of the overall standings for this weekend race, I mean, Johnny B 1990 extends the 5-second margin he had coming into this race for the Concrete Climax Racing team, meaning they will take the weekend victory. It will mean that Mate Racing cannot get 4 wins out of 5 in the championship. They'll only have to stick with 3 wins out of 5 overall in this championship. So Johnny B 1990, however, he's on course to get that result for the Concrete Climax Racing team this weekend. And in terms of this as well, it will push them ahead of Polo 24 in the championship results as well. So a good showing then for Johnny B 1990 this weekend. He won on Friday and is on course here to win this afternoon as well. It must be something about this Matterhorn circuit in Switzerland that really makes him tick, really puts him in the right vibe, and it's definitely the right way then that Johnny B 1990 will want to start to approach the VLN with a successful weekend. He'll want to go into the VLN with a fresh mind, go in there kind of with a successful run under his belt and really prove to the world what he can do in the VLN, and hopefully take that performance as well into the Never in 24 hours in February as well. So a very exciting prospect is the VLN action as well. We'll keep you fully updated with all the action on the Facebook pages and the websites and more in terms of the updates of the VLN, when the action is, and also for the Never in 24 hours as well. So make sure you tune in for that. With the standings how they are now and how the championship was done, so if the checkered flag was to fall out right now, Mace Racing would still win the championship with 40 points 2 points above Concrete Climax Racing in 38 points. Pilot 24 will be third in the championship with 35 points. Inferno and then fourth in the championship with 33 points. So they're kind of your main four. But Podium 24, the big one there, Concrete Climax Racing, will jump Podium 24 in the championship due to their results this weekend. And Concrete Climax Racing will move up to second position. But Major Racing, as long as Props Duck does not disconnect from today's race, it appears it appears likely that they have pretty much sewn up that championship still with 44 minutes to go. Alright, as the cars lap the circuit at the moment, there is Glenhouse 81. He's currently lying in second position, but I believe he is out of place there because he wasn't up there a second ago. We've got Beachu down there, it appears now in third position, so that might be a change there for Glenhouse 81. We'll have to check the pit stops, how many he's done compared to everyone else when we get them as well. Yeah, we're hearing that is a genuine place for Glenhouse 81, so again it shows that even if you make the one mistake, putting in the consistent lap times, which Glenhouse has definitely done, could still benefit you in the long run. And Glenhouse now there in second position. So even though he can't hassle really Johnny B 1990 on track, if Johnny B 1990 disconnects or has several incidents, then he will definitely bring him back into contention to challenge for today's race victory. He just ran there a slight bit wide there, coming through turn number 7, so it shows perhaps he is still pushing. He hasn't quite given up his fight yet, even with about the minute and a half gap that Johnny B 1990 has over Glenhouse 81. He makes his way now around turn number 10, definitely one of the tightest areas on the race circuit, because if you go wide there, then you're going to hit the wall, you're going to make some contact, and that's where some damage will happen. We've seen it happen to Lucas in the past today, and it could definitely happen again to Glenhouse 81. Right then, in terms of pit stops, we've got Play in the pits from 7th place, Lord in the pits there for 8th place, both now on at least their 7th, 8th pit stops, and for Lord, I think this 11th. Is now his 10th or 11th. Yep. Yeah, so 11th. It just shows how unforgiving and how challenging this Matterhorn circuit is today, having made so many mistakes, gaining so much contact, and having to make so many pit stops this afternoon.
Yes, I've just noticed that Johnny B 1990 has, I believe, this is confirmed, set the fastest lap this weekend. That's a 1:29.4, and I mean, that's just crazy.
Is that Johnny B 1990?
I believe it is, yes.
So Johnny B 1990, he is still out there on track pushing, even with a 1.5 minute gap, to set the fastest lap of the weekend. So top stuff out there then, top action, top racing from Johnny B 1990. Back out then to the leaders there. There's second and third is the battle. There's Beachu's closing back up now to Glenhouse in front. So that could be the battle for the best of the rest, so to say, in terms of second position is concerned. Leader, the victor in this race, has been pretty much wrapped up, but we could still have a battle on track for second position. Glenhouse in second, Beachu in third, we then got RCB there in fourth, Lucas in fifth, Pluxer Duck in sixth, Play in seventh, and then Lord in eighth position, still in the pit lane, of course. You can see the full time board there on, of course, the right hand side of your screen as well. So Beachy, and he's definitely closing up now, however, Tom, on Glenhouse. Just throughout that lap, you can clearly see the KTM crossbow just keep closing up and gaining more ground on Glenhouse in front.
Okay, I think it's time to have a ride on board with a driver. We'll go with Bichu with this. I mean, he's on a roll now. We'll just listen to the car.
Sorry, but just sorry to interrupt you there, Tom, before we ride on board. RCB has jumped into the pit lane in 5th position, and Pluxer Duck moves back up to 5th. Right, enjoy this ride on board with Beachu from 3rd position. Whoa. Hang on, Tom. Is that Beachu in the wall? Right on board here then with Plucks the Duck currently lying in 4th position here at the Matterhorn circuit. He's trying to chase after Lucas in front. He has got RCB behind him, but that gap, I'm not quite sure on that gap at the moment, but it appears that Pluck seems pretty safe at the moment there in 4th position. Yep, the gap big behind, so it definitely shows now then that Plucks the Duck, so even though then he was challenging for a victory earlier on, Johnny B 1990 has showed his clear dominance here today. Mistakes by Plucks has dropped him down to 4th position. He's chasing after Lucas in front, but he will definitely not be able, it appears, to get on terms with the likes of Glenhouse there in 2nd position, and he definitely won't get near Johnny B 1990, who's currently in the lead of this race anytime today. So we're still then about 35 minutes to go then, Tom. Who, so far, do you think will be the biggest mover between now and the end of the race?
I believe Plucks the Duck will. I mean, he's certainly had ups and downs. I mean, look at how close he's getting Lucas now. I mean, they're going neck and neck from here. Oh, he's even closer than he was before he goes for the right-hander down down the steep mountain. And this is where the NSX heavyweight comes into play. And now he's back on the tail again. See how it goes through this overtaking right-hander here. This is prime key for him now. He doesn't make a move there. See if he can get closer again. Ooh, bit of jump there down into turn 10. This is the short one where Lucas made a mistake and it was that contact. He's through though. I'm not sure if that was contact.
Well, it's definitely side by side between them.
That is door-to-door action right there.
Plucks the Duck's done it. He's up into 3rd position, but Lucas perhaps wasn't too happy with that. It appeared there was a bit of a squeezing together. Apparently we're hearing down there by our pit lane reporter that the pit garages down there, the engineers believe that they did not see each other on each side, perhaps because how they kept turning in, they couldn't quite see that they were there. So even though there was some pushing and squeezing, they may just get away with that in terms of steward inquiries are concerned, because they couldn't really see where each other's line was or see where they were going. So Plucks it up there in 3rd position at the moment, holding that station in 3rd position. Will he be able to close up on Glenhouse in front, Tom? What's the gap between the two drivers?
That is 15 seconds, but I believe a more technical term for what is going on between Plucks the Duck and Lucas is a very specialised online racing problem called they're not being able to see each other on track. Like, from our perspective, we get a great view, but from theirs, they can't see each other, so it could prove to be carnage, potentially.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll have to see how long they will be able to until they can get close to each other and have a fight there on track. So definitely interesting to see that at the moment. So 3rd position, Plucks Duck chasing after Glenhouse in front in 2nd position. and then just in front of them is the race leader Johnny B 1990, who has cruised this race right from the word go at the moment. There is a lockup, it appears, in front. I think that is Glenhouse 81, right? No, that's Play, sorry, in front, coming up to be lapped once again by Plucks the Duck in front. Now Play would be wise here to just let Plucks the Duck go through, because he's definitely instant probably today. Headlights are blazing there from Plucks the Duck. He doesn't want to be stuck behind him, behind the Swedish driver there for too long. There is Lucas behind there just flashing through. The shot Play, it appears, isn't going to make it too easy for Plucks to start with. He's going to hold his ground. He's not going to unnecessarily get a guess out the way, which of course he doesn't have to on core rules. Plucks will have to earn his way through. You know, the core rules do state that Play doesn't just have to immediately slow down and let Plucks go through. If Play can hold his ground, he doesn't have to let Plucks go through at all. So that could be an interesting development there about how long that will take Plucks to get past Play. But in terms of Plucks, the longer he's behind Play, the less time he has. Play's gone.
Ooh, Plucks the Ducks is turn 10
is
seems to be a bit of a...
well?
Yes, I believe that wasn't
made a mistake out of the corner, because Lucas has come back as well. He's going to have the inside line in the Podium 24 car. He flicks the car to the outside. Is he going to be able to find a way past Plucks the Duck and head down the hill? He dives it to the inside. He squeezes Plucks the Duck wide, but Plucks the Duck is just going to be able to hold on. It appears just as they head back down the hill for the 53rd time here this evening. But Plucks the Duck there, did you see that? He got very wide coming out that corner, because Play made that mistake. Perhaps Play, when he made the mistake, nudged Plucks the Duck sideways slightly, allowing Plucks the Duck to just lose the line going through the corner, and then Lucas was there ready to pounce. Glenhouse in front is in the pit lane, so it is now Plucks' chance to try and grab a room here and try and grab through to second. We believe that it's not damaged, however, because this is the pit stop window just about. So if Glenhouse hasn't made his pit stop, then perhaps this is his chance to make a pit stop. But again, it could just be damage, so we'll get a word on that in a minute. But if it's not, if it is damage, then perhaps this is now Plucks the Duck. He's back up in second, where he started this race. So some great damage limitation there throughout this race by Plucks the Duck to really gain the ground he lost earlier on.
Yes. Plucks the Duck's race has been much like this track, very up and down, very roller coaster-ish. That's even a word.
A roller coaster ride, right from the word go.
Roller coaster ride, yeah. I think Plucks might have a bit of damage. We'll see if this affects his race at all. But as I mentioned previously, Plucks the Duck and Lucas cannot see each other. So if they start getting close to each other, they're not even aware of each other. So there'll be certainly brutal racing, as we saw coming out of turn 10.
Well, exactly. So definitely an exciting time then on track. Plucks the Duck being able to work his way through the cars in front, which Tom, you said he would do. So good call there in terms of his market mover. In terms of the gaps now then, Tom, what's the gaps then between the cars out there on track? Who's looking racy, who's setting the pace, and who's definitely the one to watch in the last 20 or so minutes of action here around the Matterhorn circuit in Switzerland?
Okay, Johnny B is out in front with a lap on everyone. He's coming into pits now, I believe. Plucks the Duck is 3 seconds ahead of Lucas. Lucas is 13 seconds ahead of Glenhouse 81. Glenhouse 81 is ahead of RCB 929 by 19 seconds. And I believe Uchu is behind RCB by 10 seconds. So it certainly looks like Plucks the Duck and Lucas is where the battle is at the moment.
Well, exactly. So that's definitely the battle to keep your eye out there on track. Johnny B 1990 is in the pit lane, Tom, but this will be, I'm guessing, his last scheduled pit stop. He probably won't have to pit again from that. Whoa, Glenhouse 81. You see him right up. That's a heart in your mouth moment.
Right here,
But I'd
bros.
love to see the colour of his seat after that one, Tom. Put it that way.
Brown fire suit moment.
No, exactly.
Certainly that jump. Yeah, that jump. Oh, a big one, that one.
So that's the battle out there. Then Tom, Glenhouse even all over the place in that one. We then got Johnny B 1990 just come out the pit lane, but he's still got a huge gap. It appears over Flux the Duck there in second. He's still got about a minute or so gap, even with doing the pit stop. So it just again shows the sort of dominance that Johnny B 1990 has been able to put on this race here this afternoon, and no one has really been able to get close to him.
No, I believe the only time we've seen dominance like this in the CSS this series was GTP Kane at Trial Mountain, was it?
I believe it was. So that definitely shows how hard it is to dominate these race series, and it appears that that Johnny B 1990 is definitely doing that.
Sorry
There's
to interrupt you
RCB.
there, but RCB is another victim of the dreaded turn 10.
And we're hearing Gran
I believe
as well out there as well. So it just
that will be
shows.
getting closer.
Yeah, so it just shows that this track is still claiming victims, even with the last 25 minutes of racing or so on the last race of the series and the last race of the weekend. It shows that even though these drivers know this is the end of their season, and they can't do much now to change their seasons, they're still pushing, they're still trying to gain the extra advantage, still going for that fastest lap or whatever they're trying to do here. They're still trying to prove a point for the VLN and for the N24 as well. Right, RCB is in the pit lane, he's passing Lords now, who had pretty much retired from this race, I believe, because he's been in that pit lane now for a long time indeed. Beecher has moved up to 5th position as he goes past RCB at the moment. Then there's Johnny B 1990 again riding those curves through that fast section of the lap. Play there in 7th position. He's probably feeling a bit lonely now because Lords is out the race and Play's got nowhere to go to, no one to battle with.
But it could be rather simple for him. I mean, all he's got to do is keep driving. I mean, there's lovely views to look at. Being
exactly.
Switzerland.
It's great. So a great stunning environment to place this race circuit in as well. So we're keeping an eye out here then on Johnny B 1990 as he goes through turns 1 and turns 2. We're hearing actually that Play is just perhaps crashed again. So Play not having the best of times here today. In fact, he just crashed yet again. There we go. He's coming through turn number 2 and turn number 3 there. So again, it must be what 15th, 16th incident of the day for Play. So he's obviously not got something working in that car, and he obviously wants to change that before the VLN, before the N24 to see the action. Now here's an interesting point. Now, no offence to Play or Lords, but they seem to be incident-prone drivers. Now then, will they still be allowed, Tom, to compete in the VLN and Nürburgring 24 hours, even if they keep having crashes like this? Because then it could be a danger to other drivers in the series.
No, we've seen perfect racecraft from Lord and Play this season. So they will be allowed, certainly. I mean, they're not going to do it unless they've done mass acts of terribleness. They really haven't. I mean, they're just pinging off the barriers, and it's all down to the track and the cars. I mean, VLN is a very different kettle of fish. They will be allowed, yes. Core is very reasonable.
Yeah, and plus the circuit is very tight. The walls are nearby, so perhaps with some further practice on the Nürburgring 24-hour track. I know that some of the drivers have already started practicing for the Nürburgring 24 hours. There'll be different cars, different driving styles, and perhaps that may tend towards Play and Lord's driving style, perhaps more than these CSS cars do.
Yeah. I think Play will be a force to be reckoned with in the N24. Certainly, I mean, he's got consistency.
Yeah, exactly. He's been able to give it his all in places, and that's definitely what we want from an Everin 24-hour driver as well. There is, in fact, we've got a spurt of pit stops now, it appears then, Tom. So in the pits, we've got Glenn, Lucas, and Play. So Play's obviously coming for damage. Glenn is obviously coming in for damage as well, which means this, I'm guessing, is a scheduled stop for Lucas, but it's a bit late to do a scheduled stop unless he's on a 3-stop strategy this afternoon, but perhaps he's just gained some damage there as well. Lucas currently lying there in 4th position, trying to chase after the Portuguese driver there in front in 3rd position in the KTM crossbow of Beachy, so that's definitely something to keep your eye on. There was Johnny B 1990 flicking his car through that long left-hander, down the long start, finish straight, and across the line again to head on to lap number 61 of this race. It says lap number 62, but of course one of those laps was a formation lap. Intends to talk you through then the HUD here, then track map, you know, of course, time on left hand side counting down. That's how long's left of this race so far until the checker flag. When that ticks down to 0, we always complete the lap that the car's on. We then got the weather and the time currently situated in the event at the moment. We've got the lap counter there as well, but of course take one off because one was the formation lap. The position of the driver there on the top left that's being shown on screen at the moment, the best lap of the driver being shown on screen at the moment, and the current time of the driver being shown on screen at the moment as well. And then of course the total time in the top right hand of the screen is how long the session has gone on for, including the warm-up lap. So that's a HUD explain, and of course you've got the timing board there on the right hand side as well to give you a rough overview of who is where at the moment. Whoa, big crash for Beachy.
Getting friendly with the barriers.
That looked very similar to Nicky Lauder's crash in 1976. Funny enough, never in North's life. He just lost the right side of the car and smashed it against the wall on the outside. So then the main thing here then really to talk about the cars is that the CSS cars are so underpowered here then that you have to drive them at 110% to get some performance from them. But with the VLN cars, you do have to sort of slow it down more to keep them on track. So perhaps that's why these drivers are making contact more, because they're having to push it so hard, whereas normally just be driving along at a slower pace.
A thing to consider is the fact that the low power of the cars means that if you make a mistake, it's much harder to get back up to pace. So, I mean, with the VLN cars, you can go around the track and go around the track. I mean, if you make a mistake, you can just hit the accelerator and fly and correct your mistake. But with these, they're like go-karts, you've got to drive them on the edge. I mean, they've got very limited downforce, that's another factor. Yeah, and we'll be racing on real-world tracks, I believe.
Yeah, exactly. So, no, these aren't real-world tracks at the moment. These are all tracks that do not exist in real life in the course CSS Championship, such as Trial Mountain, Deep Forest Raceway. The track selection has been put in place here in order to portray elements of bits of the Nordschleife circuit. So there are bits, of course, on this track which simulate never in 24 hours. So at the Eiger Nordwind, you've got that tight and twisty section, and then through the tunnel, and the fast section symbolising the opening of the Nürburgring course. Whereas this track simulates more the length of the circuit, and of course the tight nature of the barriers to the circuit as well. So it is all good preparation for the Nürburgring 24 hours and the VLN, to give teams who are entering this year a good idea about what to expect. Of course, the VLN, which follows this car selection series, all the action there takes place at the Nürburgring Nordschleife circuit. So again, kind of a practice / qualifying race really ahead of the Nürburgring 24 hours, to give teams the best overlook about what the event is all about.
Another thing that this racetrack represents so well is the amount of elevation difference you get here. I mean, you can see on the screen how tight and how the track variates. I mean, just look at the camber on that corner Lucas is going around now. Look uphill, downhill. I mean, really, it's really like the Nürburgring in that sense. I mean, we've got Bichu in the pits as well. We've got Bichu in the pits. As we're saying,
Yeah,
look
but
at
he's
turn
dropped
one.
down.
Yeah,
I think he's dropped down below Glenhouse there as well. So that's the battle going on there. Bichu in 5th position, got RCB there behind him in 6th. But also it does sort of reminiscent to a roller coaster, this track, in terms of the different sort of diameter in the racetracks, the different kind of circumferences in the corners, and that adds a very kind of dynamic feel to the racetrack as well.
It's narrow, and I mean, look at the weight transfer here. I mean, look at those curbs, and look how the racetrack goes down and up and down and up. I mean, the back of the rear end of the Nürburgring is very much like this. I mean, you get your car unsettled. I mean, look at that jump there down into turn 10, blind corner, high curbs. It's beautiful. Oh, bit of a moment there through Glenhouse.
Right, exactly. So Lords is coming out the pits now. So perhaps he's trying to do a bit of testing at the moment. Then he's been in the pits for about half an hour or so. So he's not going to try and get some performance on his car or gain any points. But he may be able here then to gain some testing from this. Perhaps change the setup slightly, try something new, and then go back out there again and give himself some vital data heading into the VLN and the Nürburgring 24 hours. Because of course these courses are very similar to the VLN and Nürburgring 24-hour course. This should give him some good practice heading into the next few events.
It certainly will. I mean, the VLN is on the Nürburgring, and they'll get the chance to race their higher power cars, such as GT3 cars, and we've also got, this year we've got multi-class racing on the 24-hour circuit, not the Nordschleife, 24-hour, which involves the shorter GP circuit. And we'll have 2 classes this year with the SP9 and SP7, which is GT3 and race modified supercars.
That'll be definitely interesting to see that development come into play as well. Of course, all the action and all the updates from that will be available via the core Facebook page, and of course we'll be bringing out a new spotters guide as well for the Nürburgring 24 hours, which you can be downloaded via PDF on the Facebook page as well. So that's definitely very interesting to keep your eye out for that one as well. With Christmas around the corner as well, surely a course spotters guide will be the perfect companion for your husband or relative who you can't find the ideal gift for. Definitely something unique for Christmas morning, so make sure you get your hands on a copy of that as well, as the cars head their way back now around the circuit as well. There is we ride on board with Bichu. We're hearing actually that the course spotters guide will be sold in January online, so perhaps it's not the perfect Christmas gift. However, perhaps a good New Year's present would still be an option for your partner, relative, child or more. So make sure you get them interested in the course series as well. Ride on board then with Bichu's coming up round turn number 19 now, the final corner, back down the start finish straight, and Bichu is in fact closing up on RCB again, Tom, heading into the final 15 minutes of action.
Yes, he's got the gap down to 2 seconds now. I mean, look at that, look at the KTM and look at the suspension on the front, look at how it reacts to the chain curbs, and that's just engineering beauty there.
Some fantastic design going on there with that KTM Crossbow. In fact, it's one of my favourite cars in Gran Turismo because it always seems to stick to the ground. It's not going to lose you, and that's definitely something that's really strong about the KTM Crossbow. And I know personally what car I'll pick out of all the leads. It would be the KTM Crossbow.
Mine would be the MX-5, just because MX-5 is always the answer. It just is.
Yeah, well,
I like
MX-5, definitely one of the cars when it came out in which people wanted to get their hands on. So a nice small kind of car there, good runaround car, but it's also proved to be a strong race car as well throughout the core CSS Championship. So it's got purposes in all fields by the sounds of it.
Yeah, see, MX-5 is a formidable track day car, certainly.
Well, it's being put through its paces here at the Matterhorn circuit. So the current lineup at the moment, Johnny B 1990 currently leading the way. Second place for Pluxed Duck, third for GT Planet Lucas in a Napoleon 24 car, fourth for Glenhouse 81, fifth for RCB, sixth for Beachy, seventh for Play, and eighth for Laws. In terms of the overall weekend standings are concerned, it will be a victory for Concrete Climax Racing, because Pluxed Duck had to pull a 5-second or more lead over Johnny B 1990 in order to get that victory. However, because Johnny B 1990 is pretty much dominating the race so far, then it won't just be a 5-second gap. It'll be more like a 1 minute 35-second gap between those two out front. So that's the overall weekend result sorted. And in terms of the CSS Championship is concerned, all Plux had to do was finish in the top 6, and he's currently lying in second. So a disconnection in this last 14 or so minutes would definitely put paid to that championship for Motor Racing, but it appears as if that championship is well and truly set in stone. The cars make their way back around. So, yeah, go on.
Yes, a number of races here are on the wheel, which is the... Oh, wait a minute, we've got a bit of on-track action here. Lucas and Glenn are slowly making their way up towards Pluxed Duck. I mean, the gap is only 2 seconds between Lucas and Pluxed Duck at the moment, and we'll see if he can improve on that and chip away at the gap. But Lucas and Glenhouse are a second apart. So
with 10 minutes still to go, there's definitely the chance here when it leads to keep going.
Certainly, I believe. I mean, I do love a good last-minute battle, don't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's sort of got a NASCAR-esque to it in a way, sort of building it all down to the final lap and getting the action. So.
Nah, that's a core thing, that is, the last-minute battles. I mean, we've seen them plenty in WC.
So it appears that we've lost connection here then to Tom in that one as we head away back round the circuit. There was a battle on track between Lucas and Glenhouse. Lucas there in third position, Glenhouse in fourth. Now this will be an interesting battle, because if they don't start getting a move on here, then they won't be able to close up to Pluxed Duck in front, because these two are battling hard. Perhaps this will allow Pluxed Duck in front to escape, so perhaps it would be in their best interest to work together on this one, try and close the gap up to Pluxed Duck, and then battle it out in about in about 5 or so minutes time when that battle is there, because if these two aren't careful, then perhaps they will start to lose the ground to Pluxed Duck, and it will make him even more safer for that second position. So that's that battle there. Glenn now right on the back, as you can see, of Lucas in front. Lucas in the Napoleon 24 car, holding back or trying to hold back Glenhouse behind. And in fact, it's not been the best day for Napoleon 24 because of Concrete Climax Racing's dominance this weekend. They will in fact jump Napoleon 24 in the championship standings. So it appears it's going to be a third place finish for Napoleon 24 and not a second place finish in the championship for them, as Concrete Climax will finish runner-up, it appears, to Motor Racing. So that's the championship concern. But Glenhouse trying his best, however, to get past Lucas in front. He's going to the inside, to the outside and more, but he can't quite find a line. And all this is definitely allowing Pluxed Duck to extend the gap out front. He's pulling away from these two, and perhaps this could spark the end of a podium finish for both of these drivers if they can't find a way back up to Pluxed Duck. There is Lucas there. He's still holding on just to Glenhouse behind. We've got Play now in the pit stop for perhaps his final stop, but don't count him out of having another impact and then going back in the pits again. So there's still, all can happen. There's still 10 minutes to go here at the Matterhorn circuit in Switzerland.
Yeah, so certainly Play has been in the pit stop a few times. I mean, with 12 stops, I think he's going to become part of the furniture. Wow.
Yeah, so definitely a good battle out there on track developing there. Lucas and Glenhouse. It appears then that Lucas just manages to pull away throughout the first area of this lap, so that'll be very interesting indeed. Interesting there, so definitely an interesting battle developing.
I hope he's turn 10. Oh, bit of a mistake there, and he's through. Glen Owls side by side. Glen Owls is through.
He's gone the outside line. Poland 24 car of Lucas on the inside. Are they going to make contact? Not quite. They get through safely that time around. It just shows, though, Tom, doesn't it? One small mistake and look what it can lead to.
Now, next on the dinner plate for Glen Owls must be Plucks the Duck. I mean, there's a 4-second gap between him and his victim, Plucks the Duck. Can he make it in roughly 9 minutes? Ooh, I don't know.
Yeah, so that's definitely the battle there. So we've got about 8 minutes to go, which works out at about 6 laps. So what is the gap, Tom? Would he be able to work that out? It can't be more than 6 seconds. So 1 second a lap, he could potentially pull this gap in and perhaps challenge Plucks heading on to the final 2 laps or so.
Yes, Glen Owls is certainly putting his foot down, as he's just set his best lap of his race today. I mean, with a 1:30.1, that's certainly faster than Plucks the Duck has ever gone before. So that 3-second gap is melting away in front of my eyes right now.
Well, exactly. So that's definitely something to keep your eye on in the opening. In the concluding 7 to 8 minutes of this race. Who's going to be able to blink first this one? Will Plucks manage to hold his line and manage to hold that gap in front, or will Glen Owls be able to get the better of him and keep plugging laps in now? Glen Owls throughout today's race has been able to keep pulling in the lap times when it counts. He's always been on there setting the fastest lap times and really pulling away from everyone else. So perhaps he stands the best chance of closing in on Plucks the Duck. However, closing up is one thing, but overtaking will be quite another around this tight and twisty Matterhorn circuit, especially with someone as racy and as adventurous as Plucks the Duck in that made for racing Mazda.
Yes, I'm just looking at the stats and figures now, and the last lap seems to be Glen Owls with second advantage there, with a 1:30 as his last lap, and Plucks the Duck only managed a 1:31 last lap, so that 3-second gap will be rapidly melting away over the course of the next 3 laps.
Well, exactly, so that gap, if he tries and pulls that gap down as much as he can, then we could be in for a very big inning as well. Glen Owls again then, look, jumping at the bump in the middle of the circuit there, really letting the car fly out, and that's exactly what he would have wanted to do there, really get the car open up more and really see if he can push Plucks the Duck in his final few laps here to really close the gap and perhaps challenge for a lap second position. Johnny B1990, however, has completely dominated in front. Of course, this is now then your last chance to get in your nominations for our core driver and team of the series and driver of the day as well. Hashtag core CSS is the place to go for that. We'll be reading out those nominations and giving us our verdict in the next 3 or 4 minutes time, so make sure you get in your nominations for that.
Okay, now I'm going to have a look through the times and we're going to see who are close. Naturally, Glen Owls and Plucks are 2 seconds apart, so we know there's a battle heating up there, but RCB and Bichu seems to be a 13 second gap between them, so it's interesting to see. We'll monitor that over the next few laps, see if the gap increases or decreases, but I think there's just been a change. Wait a minute, what's happening here on screen?
I'm not quite sure, if I've got to be honest with you. I can't quite see what you're referring to down there. We've still got Johnny Billy, Plucks stuck in second, Glen Owls in third. We're hearing Plucks has lost it.
Ooh,
yes, the
Plucks
smoke all the way down.
10, claims another victim, and Glen Owls is straight into him.
Glen Owls has hit him. He's got damage, he's snaking all over the place. Glen Owls is hitting, but Plucks has got damage as well. So who's got more damage? Who's going to be able... Surely you wouldn't pit now, would you? Surely you'll just nurse the car home with 3 laps to go?
I think you
because
actually
one
would.
of them is going to pit. No, because if one of them pits, the other driver has to nurse it. But now look, there's Lucas. There's Lucas. So he's going to come into the fray now. Lucas is past Proxy Dark. Can Glenhouse hold on to the second position, or will Lucas snatch it in the last 4 minutes of action? It always comes down, doesn't it? It's like this course special, final 4 minutes of action.
Literally, watch the whole race, but the 4 minutes is where it really counts.
Basically, forward the rest of the next race and skip to the last 5 minutes. It seems to be the magic number. But anyway, as we can see there, Glenhouse trying to nurse his car back. There is Lucas. He's got a fresh car. He's got 4 minutes, 2 laps or so, to be able to hold on to this. Plux is in the pits. Plux is in the pit lane. So therefore,
Plux is
Glenhouse
in the pits, and RCB and Lucas have got through.
So Plux has sort of cowered it out. The battle there and just thought, we'll play it safe, but he's going to drop back down to around 5th position here because RCB's gone through, we know that. Now how far is B2 behind, because he might even drop back to 6th in this one as well. We've got this battle on track at the moment for 2nd position between
smoke and
he's gone. Glenhouse has gone sideways. He's sideways again.
No, that's not sideways, that's a bit of drifting.
Just a bit of drifting, just making sure he opens the handbrake up there. Now, what do you think, Tom? Can he hold on with 3 minutes to go? Or is this second place destined for Lucas now in the Poland 24 car?
I really hope so. I mean, certainly...
No, I want him to hold on in a way.
Ooh, wait a minute. Lucas, I think he's got a chance.
Oh, hang on, he's hit the wall on the
inside.
He's through. Lucas has got through. I don't think there's going to be a comeback. No, Lucas hit the wall on the outside as he knows back. He managed to get the switch back on him and he's managed to get the move stick. So Glenhouse still leading this one with the last 2 minutes of action. So definitely interesting to see the battle there. He's going down the long straight. He's going to get into the slipstream. Is he going to be able to find a line? He's going to flick the car down into the inside, and Lucas is just going to bite latest, flick the car down inside into turn number 1 and turn number 2, and he's going to make the move stick through into 2nd position. Glenhouse in third, but surely Tom, Plux the Duck, has made the biggest mistake here by pitting because he's let RCB go through into 4th position when, had he stayed out, he may have held on to that 4th position slot.
I'd rather watch them come past me in the pit lane than slowly overtake me, to be fair. Coming down to the line.
However, now, Plux the Ducky will have some fresh rubber, so what is the gap, Tom? He could actually be able to get far as RCB, and perhaps Glenhouse, if he keeps on making mistakes and keeps slowing down here, because we know they were close, plus the pit lane isn't too long here.
The 20-second gap between RCB and Plux the Duck will be impossible to make up in 1 minute 40.
Hang on, he's all over the shot. He must have gone left, right there about 4 or 5 times. So again, he's really pushing. He's trying to close the gap to RCB, but that must be, just as you said, about 20-ish seconds. That is an impossible gap with
that is impossible even for the Magic MX-5.
And now he's got Play behind him as well, trying to unlap himself. So Tom, unfortunately, to cut across this battle, who is your core driver of the day?
I think Plux the Duck. I mean, he's certainly had a rough time. I mean, he's gone up the pace and come back down it. Certainly interesting to watch.
Alright, I'm going to have to say Johnny B 1990 because the fact that he's managed to pull a gap that has surpassed everyone else and done about 1 lap ahead of everyone else, that's definitely surely a feat to beat. Now then, so the next feature to go on, so we can't pick unfortunately a core driver of the day. In fact, we might be able to because the person who's down in the pit lane is going to who is your driver of the series so far, the core CSS series so far. Yesterday I said Johnny B 1990 and the team made for racing, but who do you think, Tom?
I think it'd be, I'd have to say same again because Johnny B 1990 has done really well this season and M4R have done very well with taking the first 3 weekends.
Well, exactly, he managed to take the fight. He managed to take the fight, Johnny B 1990, to Made Racing. That's definitely worthwhile. Our pit lane reporter had also gone with John. So our driver of the day today Johnny B 1990. Based on yesterday's result and today's result, our driver of the series, Johnny B 1990, and our driver and our team of the series, it appears to be Made for Racing, and that seems what everyone says. However, our pit lane reporter for the series, Pikey Mikey, for the season, so some mixed views down there. So really it has between for the season Pikey Mikey, GTPK and Johnny B 1990, the driver of the series. But as Johnny B 1990 works his way around turn number 19 for the final time, he's going to cross the start line and take race 15, round 5, race 3 of the core CSS right here from the Matterhorn Speedway here in Switzerland. It'll also take overall victory for Concrete Climax Racing here as well by about 1.5 minutes over Fluxet. Well, more now because Fluxet had the pit, so that must be about 2 minutes now to the Made for Racing team in second. But we'll get back now in just a minute. So that's definitely very interesting indeed. We're hearing Poland 24 Racing, they're coming across the line in just a short while time as well. Lucas will come through in second position, and for Poland 24 Racing, they're also going to take second place in the championship with this second place as well. So it really adds to a great weekend then for the Poland 24 crew. We will be racing for RCB to come through in third, Gran out in fourth as well. So here is Lucas now. He's coming around the final few corners, the tight and twisty section here, and he'll work his way around when it sort of then opens back up around that last corner. You can really then let the car go out and cross the line and finish off a truly spectacular core CSS season so far.
Yeah, we'll have a look at we'll go through the standings, final standings now. I mean, looks pretty concrete. With Johnny B 1990 taking the race firmly, the lead on everyone else. Lucas coming in second, nabbing a podium, and RCB with a podium in third. Glenel's 81 in fourth. Flux of Doug in fifth. He's had a good race, but with his ups and downs. Bichu in sixth, Play in seventh, and Lord in eighth. With a really bad
in terms
race.
of how the championship is concerned, I believe Flux of Duck in fifth position. I believe, Tom, that means Made for Racing are champions of the 2014 Core CSS Championship. It's been a well-won Made for Racing victory. Flux of Duck, GTP Kane and Pikey Mikey in that team. They're really dominating that series so far. They've had 3 overall weekend result wins, and that gives them the advantage heading into the VLN and then the Nervo in 24 hours as well. So massive congratulations to this year's Core CSS champions, Made for Racing. But it is, however, unconfirmed until the stewards have finished, but it seems pretty concrete that it's going to be Made for Racing champions in that one. However, it is still unconfirmed until the stewards have finished with their investigation, so you can keep updated with that Facebook page to guarantee to see who is the champion. But it appears to me, Tom, as if Made for Racing are champions of the 2014 Core CSS.
Yes, seems so.
Alright, well, unfortunately that is all we have time for today, but thank you very much, Tom, for joining us today in the commentary box. It's always great to have your company.
Yeah, same to you, Luke.
So don't forget then to join us again soon for the Core VLN series, and next weekend, of course, for the World Endurance Championship season finale. We'll be there. Make sure you are too. Thank you very much for joining us this evening. Made for Racing, champions of the Core CSS season 2014. Don't forget to join us next weekend for the World Endurance Championship. But until then, goodbye for now.